Estevanico the Moor, who traveled to the New World with the Spanish, has been described as the first great black man in America. The history of Estevanico is interesting because he's quite possibly the first Muslim to set foot on American soil. What up, African world? It's Home Team here, and I'm back at it with another video of African history, culture, and worldview. And as always, you can go on patreon.com to support the Home Team on these videos and future animated projects. Also, go to Afrographics.com, a website where you can find illustrative infographics and resources on African history. All links in the description box below. Born in an Arabic-speaking city in Morocco around 1500, Estevanico was taken along an expedition with a Spanish nobleman to the New World. He became a very valuable interpreter and intermediary during their unfortunate incursions into North America. During Estevanico's childhood, the city he was born in became one of the centers of conflict between the Amazigh people and the Portuguese. The Portuguese at that time had established slave trading along the African coast, and even though historians know very little about his ethnic background, most people agree that he had significant West African heritage. Upon his capture and enslavement, he was given to a Spanish nobleman named Andres Dorantes, and his name was changed to Estevanico, a Christian name. This was done because Muslims were not allowed to be taken to the New World on Spanish expeditions, so it's assumed that he was officially Christianized, but there is no indication that he actually embraced Christianity. In 1527, Estevanico and Dorantes set sail for Cuba, joining about 600 people in an expedition planned by conquistador Panfilo Narvaez. A leader in the Spanish conquest of Cuba and Jamaica, Narvaez had been jailed for attempting to overthrow his rival Hernando Cortez in Mexico, but he had secured a royal license to explore and conquer the territory from the northern boundaries of Mexico to Florida. Dorantes was appointed a captain in his expedition. After obtaining supplies in Cuba, in March 1528, Narvaez, Estevanico, and Dorantes intended to set sail and land near the Panuca River on the western side of the Gulf of Mexico. But a combination of inept piloting, challenging ocean currents, and inclement weather brought them to shore near Tampa Bay on the west coast of Florida. Many men died of illness or Indian attacks during their 5 months of travel north through Florida's swamps. And the ships ordered to follow and resupply the foot soldiers along the coastline lost track of the group on land. In a desperate move, Narvaez decided to build rafts and try to float to Mexico, which turned out to be a pretty bad idea. Keeping the rafts together proved impossible, and most of the remaining members of the expedition, including Narvaez, drowned or disappeared in the Gulf of Mexico. Being a great navigator and survivalist, Estevanico, despite the capsizing of his boat, was among the 80 men who was able to land on an island off the coast of Texas, and he was one of only 15 to survive the winter there. Estevanico left the island with Dorantes and a small group determined to find Mexico. But after reaching the mainland, Indians took them captive. For more than 6 years, Estevanico worked alongside Dorantes. When a shipwrecked Spanish survivor left Galveston Island in 1534, he found Estevanico, Dorantes, and one other man still in captivity. The group fled and posed as healers and spiritual leaders in their 2-year trek across Mexico to the Pacific coast. During their overland trip, Estevanico's companions were astonished at his ability to communicate with Native Americans through hand signals and what they thought to be indigenous languages. Native American communities were absolutely fascinated by Estevanico because they had never seen a black man before. Estevanico carried a gourd rattle and wore gifts that he received for his healing, including colorful feathers, bells, and turquoise. In 1536, Spanish slave raiders in northwest Mexico found Estevanico and his 3 companions dressed like Indians and returned them to the Spanish colonial capital, where Dorantes sold Estevanico to Viceroy Antonio Mendoza. Upon their arrival in Mexico, the 7 Cities of Gold legend was born from the stories told by Estevanico and his crew. Motivated by rumors of a wealthy civilization to the north, Mendoza dispatched Estevanico to guide yet another Spanish incursion into Indian territory. Unfortunately, on this journey, Estevanico would never return to Mexico. He quickly became the unofficial leader of the expedition, as he was the only experienced one and the only one who could actually communicate well with the native people. Estevanico pushed forward until he reached a region never before traveled by non-Indians. Crossing into what is now Arizona and New Mexico, he saw from a high elevation the walls of the famous city of Cibola, which the Indians called Hawaku. The legacy of Estevanico is great because he was the first African to culturally, linguistically, and socially navigate the spaces of the New World. Well, I'm all out, guys. If you like these videos and want to help out in its continued production, please consider supporting the home team on patreon.com. The link is in the description box below. Know thyself. Remember your ancestors. Peace.